Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'm talking to independent country music artist Alexandra Kay. Let's go.
That's my kind. I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
I do all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I always wonder, like, what are people actually seeing? What are they actually hearing? You know, like, what is someone's perception of you, like, in your real life every day? I don't know. It's weird, especially when you're in entertainment and people you become more of like a brand as you build success. Mm-hmm. They see you as a brand.
I think that's why it's so important just to take control of your narrative while you can, though.
Yes.
You know?
Take control of your narrative.
I mean, people are going to write whatever they want to write and say whatever they want to say. But as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror, you know, the next day and feel good about who you are, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, it's like some honesty. It's always... it feels good.
Right.
What's your narrative? What's the top line?
Independence. It's kind of what's really become, I don't know, I guess the headline that I want everything to read when it comes to Alexandra Kay. Yeah. You know? I mean, I've been in this business now for, I've had 2 record deals.
Yeah.
And I'm independent. And it wasn't until this year that I started to really be comfortable and really proud of that. Over the last year.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird, though, that we start and all we want is a record deal?
Right.
I think most of us, because that's our representation of like a validation.
Right.
Like, now I'm serious. Now I'm real.
I mean, it's what we're told we're supposed to want, right?
Yeah, it's the model we've been given, right?
Exactly.
Like you get into music, you start loving music, you start looking at artists and you start shaping your idea of like what that means. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere in there, you give yourself permission to think you could do it.
Right.
Because like you really are, I always say this, like, who told you could do it in the first place?
Honestly?
Yeah.
Myself.
Right.
Like most people told me I couldn't. Right. Almost everybody.
Yeah. So when you start testing that idea, like, because okay, if we're talking about a company, right? We would test it. We test we do our research and development on things before we decide, okay, we've landed on this idea and we're going. So if we look at ourselves as like a company, it's like, I'm going to start this company. Mm-hmm. I start testing in the market with the people around, the audience.
Yeah.
The name, the idea, the concept. So when we're starting our careers as artists, we're not looking at it that way. We just go, I think I could do that. I feel something that compels me to like think I could maybe write a song, or maybe I'm starting to play around with it. And then we start talking about it. Mm-hmm. That's the research part. And we start telling people, most people are like, oh, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, kid.
Or they're like, my mom's like, no, you're going to college.
Yeah.
You're not. You have to go to college. Also, you're supposed to play softball. Like that's what we paid all of this money for your entire life, is to make you the best softball player and make sure that every college scout had their eyes on you. And now you're just like, I'm gonna do music.
Yeah, but what if all that money was spent for you to learn the process of mastering something? You know? Right. And so it wasn't a waste.
Well, nothing's ever a waste.
Right.
And honestly, I think that my plan was already, my story was already written before I was even here. And so I think I'm just like really living it out right now. And I feel like I'm really in my purpose, living in my purpose more now than ever, which is really crazy because I had probably the worst year of my life.
Last year? Mm-hmm. Why?
I went through a divorce.
Oh, you did? You don't look old enough to be.
I did. We ain't got to talk about age.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went through a divorce. I was with my ex for 11 years.
Wow.
And I ended up writing through it, and I put a record out this year called All I've Ever Known. And it really was about the only life I had known up until this point. And me really falling into being a housewife and being so domesticated. And I loved that. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I loved that. I mean, I thrived there. I really do. I love my slow Sundays where I just get to cook and bake and clean my house and just be slow and present, nice. And out of nowhere, my life just changed, mostly because of the internet, which kind of I wanted to touch on when we were talking about earlier how in the start of a business, right? We're talking about how in the inception of it all, we get to test things out.
We test things.
Isn't it insane that some people just don't get to test things out anymore?
No, you don't. And now, now on the internet, a test becomes a headline, becomes a talking point in what was just a thought or a moment or a mistake or whatever. There's no testing.
No.
Everything's permanent. If people run away with it and start making it the thing, you can't control it.
Artists are sitting in their bedroom playing possibly the first song they've ever written in their life, and it becomes their biggest hit, and they have millions of followers, and they have millions upon millions of streams and record labels all in their face, and they've never even gotten to figure out what they actually want or who they actually want to be.
Yeah.
They're forced into it, and they're saying, well, this is what everyone likes, so I guess I'll recreate this song over and over
and I won't grow.
And this is who I am now. And
they
never even had a choice.
How often do you see something like that coming from your experience now, and go, ooh, like everyone else is going, wow, they have they released that bedroom song. We see it sometimes, right? This new artist, they have this little thing they did, and then it blows up, and everyone's like, wow, great, yeah, that's so on fire. I tend to go, ooh, that's either going to be the beginning of a really long, great career with someone who's really talented who can navigate how to be an artist,
right?
Or it's going to be over. And when you see the artist almost like buying in, like they think it's permanent, and you're like, just take it slow, keep writing. Don't buy all the way into the success. Like, let it be, celebrate it, but like keep going. Because most people are gone. We could probably bring up 50 names in the last 2 years of people that had a moment where we don't even remember. We'd have to stop and go online and find these people. And it's scary when you think about like how short a career can be now too.
I remember specifically a couple of times just kind of like pacing around in my backyard when I saw somebody have this really big viral song. And I mean, at this point, I love analytics. I love data.
Great.
I love social media. I do. And I know a lot of artists don't. It's kind of like pulling teeth to get them to do it, but I'm all in. Like, I love it. I love to be able to feel as in control of my career and of my destiny and of my audience, and how I want to be perceived and as possible. I don't know why. I just love it just as much as I love writing the songs, recording the songs. And so I pay a lot of attention on what's working, especially on social media. And so I'll see, oh man, this one video's got like 50 million views on it, and all the comments are this or that. And all of a sudden, all their masters come down, everything's re-recorded. It's like, then it comes out, posted, they're signed. And I was like, man, you just sold every bit of your music for this record deal. You just handed it all over. And what if it doesn't work out? But that's never even at the forefront of our minds. Record
deals can be really good, and they can be really bad.
Right.
That's the two sides of the coin you have to look at and know going into it. Like, this could be really good, but I need to design what I think really good means.
Sure.
And then this could be really bad if I don't think about it at all, and I just sign whatever because I'm just excited and I just need this validation and I need this look, you have all these experienced people, and for all you know, you walk in the guy's office and he's got all these plaques and you believe it.
Right.
They're on the wall.
For sure.
So for sure he was
it's
the
working.
guy. Not to say he wasn't the guy. I don't know. It's individuals, right? So there's room for everyone. Like with social media, I don't love or hate it. I respect it.
Yeah.
And I try to participate where I feel I can.
Sure.
And then most of the time I find myself in doubt or in question of something. Then my rule is I don't post now at my age. I'm like, I don't post unless I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What and why I want to do it.
Right.
So I'm generally promoting things or big upping people that I like or whatever. But when I hear you talk about your perspective of it, it just sounds to me like self-respect. Yeah. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Because we should be in control of the message people are getting from us.
Sure.
But when an artist goes into a record deal, which it sounds like your experience of record deals led you to this place where you're independent, which I prefer independence as well. I'm independent. I don't know that I'll ever be in a position where anyone ever owns my art.
Sure.
Again, certainly when I was young, they do. That no one told me.
Yeah.
So I didn't know I could do a license deal, could get my master's back after a time. No one talks about that.
No.
And, and I have a management company, so I talk it through with artists. They can make, at the end of the day, it's your decision to make the deal that you feel you want to make. My job is to give you the information that I have. And I'm not a manager, but I work in a company of managers, and we all share the same values and perspectives of we should be giving the artist all the information, and we should be encouraging them to think long-term if they really are choosing this as a life.
Right.
So a long-term deal is, I think, more designed like that. Like, let's share the success together. License deal's great.
Sure.
But when I'm my age, when I'm 45, I can hold the things that I created and go, I own this.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Right.
So I'll regret that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I can't change it.
Sure.
The richness of that experience is why I can sit with someone else and go, hey, so this is what I think. I wish someone would have told me this when I was 18.
Yeah.
Like, I think you should think that way.
I think that right now, and having been through my past experiences, and I'm just like so excited to be able to share where I'm at now with people and to let younger artists know that there is another way of doing it. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you have all of this time to be sitting on your phone, scrolling through TikTok or out drinking with your friends or out, partying, whatever, playing video games, whatever. It's like you're sitting around being like, how am I going to find a manager?
Yeah.
You don't need a manager. There are so many things you can do by yourself. You have all this time, And so I think that, and that's how I look at social media, right? I'm like, why would it? And I know that some artists, it's like a very touchy topic right now, especially like artists post about it and they're like, I hate that I have to do this and I just want to create my art and I shouldn't have to promote it myself, right? And I'm like, I cannot imagine. And this is just me. I cannot imagine like creating something I'm so proud of and not wanting to get it out there.
I agree. I think if you don't tell your story, someone else is going to tell your story for you and it's going to be their version of it. So you have to, or you don't have to.
Right.
And there's the rare cases of artists who don't participate and it works for that brand of art or their style or whatever. But you're always your manager.
Right.
I say that to artists. Like, what I wanted to absolve myself of was the responsibility of the decision making, so that I didn't have to deal with failure like it was my decision. I wanted to put it on someone else so that if it failed, I could say it was their fault because I was so terrified of failure.
Sure.
When I came to terms with that and I realized like, no, the best managers are partners. I think they're working in partnership with you in collaboration, but you are the manager. Now, you can't walk into a room on your own behalf most of the time and make a deal because there's something about the nature of these relationships that there's something, I want to use the right words because it sounds like I'm criticizing the music business. I'm not. I'm in the music business. I fucking love it.
Right.
It's my life.
Yeah.
There's a dishonesty though in deal making sometimes that I think people are afraid to disappoint artists because artists are so charismatic
but disappointment's part of all of this.
100% disappointment is a part of trying anything.
I mean, the amount of times I can count that I've been disappointed and then I look back now and I'm like, thank goodness I was
Thank God that
there.
happened, right?
I'm just,
In the moment, the result we think we want is what we want. And artists, when we tend to be these like highly focused on the things we care about.
Sure.
And when we're not focused on something we care about, we're ADD, right? So I always say like ADHD, ADD is such a strength when you know what you want to do. When it's at all the right things, you can do an album and the cover and write a song and listen to the mix and think about the merch and think about the tour. And you can do 50 things at once when you have a reason. But when you don't have something to focus on, you're just ADD and you're going nuts. But a good manager, a good partner can represent you the way you want to be represented when you can't necessarily go in and represent yourself, but you should be able to if you need to. And that's what I think. I always tell artists, you are your best manager until you can't be, because you're overwhelmed with the size of the thing that you're building. Then you bring in a good manager and you work together. And I think that at its best is a partnership where there's a shared vision, shared values, and a communication and a process that works where you are still at the table.
Yes.
And so when a manager-artist relationship starts to feel like you're being pimped, which is how I felt at times, because I let myself. It's not necessarily that I was like, it was all the big bad wolf, right?
Right.
It was a nature of my self-esteem and my experience of all the things being young and coming into the business and not knowing what options I had. The conversations I have with artists tend to be like this, where I'm like, look, you gave yourself the permission in the first place. You're your best gauge on what's right. And then you want to pick a partner that you respect so that you can win in the moments where your gauge is off. You can't tell, you're confused or you're overwhelmed. You trust the person sitting next to you to go, hey, what do you think?
Right.
You want to pick someone that's thinking long-term versus I just want to get this check. Because there's also the function of the business. We're not all here doing charity work. We're not all here for free.
Sure.
If someone said, yeah, you can still do art, but you're never going to make $1 off of it, you'd have to consider, do I still want to do it? And what time do I want to give to that? Because the reality is I have to build a life too.
100%. I mean, honestly, nothing has made more sense to me than what you just said. I'm like, dang, that's how I need to really be starting to look at things and to help me make decisions.
It's just like 3 buckets.
No, seriously. And I mean, when it came to my manager, Beth, her and I, she actually found me on Facebook, and she wanted to book me. She's an agent, first and foremost. And she was like, what are you doing, for shows right now? And I was like, oh, I'm playing at the Backstreet Wine and Dine for 4 hours tonight. I'm like on my way, driving there, talking to her on the phone. She's like, how often do you do that? I said, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's how I make my money. And then I have 4 new singles about to come out, and we start going into all of that, and we just start talking. And man, I don't even know if we ever really made a decision that we were going to be working together. We just never stopped talking from that day on.
That's how it works. It's like a relationship.
Exactly. And when we came, when the time came for me to start really considering having a manager, she took me around to meet everybody. And I remember, getting out of those meetings and sitting in the car with her and being like, I know you're an agent, but
you want to be a manager?
You want to be my manager? And she's like, yeah, okay, let's do this. And to be completely honest, it was like the easiest decision I've ever made in my life. Awesome. Because of trust. Yeah. Because there was nobody that I trusted more than her, because nobody has ever met my work ethic. She would be in California or in LA, and I was in Southern Illinois, and I'm up at,
Is that where you're from?
Yes.
Cool. Do you still live there?
No, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee now.
Okay. I love Nashville.
Yeah, it's a fun city. And I mean, I had to be there. I used to live in LA too, and I was on a Netflix series. So I lived in Burbank actually for 2 years.
Not far from
while I was shooting that. Yeah. And then when that Netflix series kind of plummeted, I ended up having to get a job right down the street here at a bar called Tin Horn Flats.
Okay.
Have you been to that bar?
I don't know that bar.
Yeah. It's like, I think Joe's is like right around here. It's like right down the street. It's on Magnolia.
Okay.
And that was a really wild day that I'll never forget, because I was driving down Sunset, and I was seeing myself pulled off of a billboard for the Netflix show that I was on that had just ended. And I definitely didn't get a new season, and you'll have trouble even finding it, because it just didn't do what everybody wanted it to do. And it was definitely something that I thought was going to change my life, and it did, because it changed me as a person. But I remember having my resume in my hand and going to every single restaurant and literally watching myself that day get pulled down.
Anyone that's been in entertainment and in music for a long time has had this experience, because we could be saying, oh, this artist that's been really in the, they've been having success for a year or 2 or 3, maybe they haven't had it yet, but we've all had it, where we thought that this thing that was going to change our life, which I don't really know. And then if we just stop and we go, what does change my life mean?
Right. And at that point, I mean, I think I was thinking financially a lot at that time because I had no money, you know, and I had never even really been to LA before when I got cast in the show, and I had no friends or nothing here, and I just said, okay, well, I have this opportunity and I'm going to take it because that's how bad I want to be in this business, and I want people to hear my songs, and
money represents freedom.
Yeah.
To do the things.
And I
we
moved here and
do.
had less money.
Yeah. And less
I was like, dang, this place is expensive.
But what
Take me back.
What you gain from my perspective is you gain an understanding of we have to do it on our own. We have to. Mm-hmm. We have to make music and put it out. I always say when artists are like, where should I start? And I'm like, that's not a question for me.
Sure.
Because the only way you're going to learn how to be you in this crazy world and in this business of music is by behaving how you behave. So you can't tell me you can't ask me when I think you should put the song out. You should be dying to put the song out, right. And then you should do it.
Mm-hmm. And finding your audience. And
then you get yeses.
And wanting to connect with those people.
And you get yeses. Like you put a song out and people respond. And then you do another one. And then that's actually how it's built. Then you go in and play a show.
Right.
And then you get a tour with someone. And it's really hard. That's the other thing is like, there's no wand or golden ticket. It's
touring is like the whole nother thing too.
It's a whole thing.
But like, you know, those moments that I don't think people really, nobody desires those moments, but it's when you find out what you're made of, man, I'm bulletproof at this point. I mean, like when you can, I mean, I broke down, pulled over the side of the road, cried my eyes out. But you know what? Like that moment wiped them, walked into that bar, gave him my resume, had a mop in my hand the next day, and I felt nothing about it. And you know what I did every single day? I was like, yeah, what brought you to LA? I'm on a show on Netflix, actually. You should look it up and you should watch it. Oh, you can play one of my songs on the jukebox. I promoted myself every single day in that bar, and I felt no shame being behind that bar and slinging those drinks because it paid my bills.
Yep.
And I let everybody know what I was really here for every single day. And I don't care what happens at this point, I can make it through it. But if you've never put yourself in the position to get your heart broken like that, you don't know what you're made of. You need those moments, you know?
You do.
I'm willing to go after anything now. Because how bad can it really be? You know? How bad can it be?
It's so true.
We'll brush it off.
Yeah. And what's the worst thing that can happen in failure, right? For me, I think about that all the time. If I try something new, this show is a great example of that. So I talked about doing this for 3 years. Mm-hmm. My wife, who's a really big supporter of me just personally, she just wants me to be happy. She doesn't care what I do.
Right.
She just wants me to do stuff that I care about. She's like, you're the happiest when you're doing something that you care about versus you do something you don't care about. You're miserable. Mm-hmm. So you should only do things you care about. Whether it was this show, which I talked about for years, and I was like, because I had these conversations. This is what I love doing. I love talking to artists about the thing. Like we all have a valuable perspective and a valuable insight into how you go forward in life, trying things and failing, getting back up quickly, figuring out what didn't work, trying again. People listening may not be artists, but we're all having the same human being experience. We're trying to go forward and aim upwards versus aim downwards.
Right.
And is the world a better place if we all aim upwards? Or is it a better place if we look downwards and we don't think anything's possible and we don't try anything? So the world doesn't function if we do that. So these conversations, for me, they're just compelling because I'm interested in what makes someone special. How did they survive to get here? Because I know how hard it is.
Right.
How do they survive those moments where they're in the car and they see themselves being pulled down off of a billboard that was, a show was supposed to change your life and it didn't? How do you survive that disappointment? And then everyone listening can take that experience as a metaphor for something they're experiencing in the same fashion.
Right.
And draw some perspective out of it that gives them hope to go another step. And who's to say that someone listening is thinking about dropping out of college and they're not the next great doctor or therapist or scientist or inventor or whatever, or artist. So these conversations are important to share as a history of how someone did something and arrived with their insight, so that other people can follow that, versus it's not worth it, don't try, don't look upwards, don't aim upwards.
Right.
You're not special. You have nothing to offer. You know what I mean?
Right. And I can tell you that, I mean, your goal with this, you're doing exactly what you wanted to do with this, because
Thank you. I love it.
I watched, or I listened to your podcast with Lil Wayne. I love Lil Wayne.
I love Lil Wayne. He's such a great person.
Man, it was so interesting for me to listen to, and I want to tell you, like, I took a lot away from that conversation.
Awesome.
But
so did
specifically, I have this one thing that stuck with me, and that I've thought about every day since. And it was when he said, you guys were talking about consistency, and you said that was the word that described him for you. And you were asking him, what does that mean? What does consistency mean for you? And he said, I do this every single day. Like, I get up and I make music every single day. And that's something I struggle with. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The creating of music, because I have fallen in love with all other aspects of the business. I find myself in a very ADHD way, grasping onto other things and just clenching, and it's pulling me away from the art, right? Mm-hmm. And every single day I've thought about him saying, like, I get up and I make music every single day. That is the consistent part of it all. And that should be the consistent part of it all. There's a lot of things that I can be consistent on, but that is something I need to do every single day. And I have written a song, written a verse, listened to, a track, and tried to write something every single day since I listened to that episode. And so I want to say thank you for having that conversation, because
oh my God,
really
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to Wayne, because also to share those aspects of yourself are like, it's generous. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we do something, but we haven't necessarily labeled it.
Sure.
Or identified what it is we're doing. But it's important to do that, because if you can identify the things you're doing right, you can focus on those. And if you can identify the things that you may be doing wrong or incorrectly, or may even just be a waste of time, that's important too, because we refine our process and then we get better and faster and smarter and we get to our goals quicker. And if we don't take ourselves seriously, then what are we doing? What are we doing?
Right.
So some people don't feel that they can, because the world kind of tells you can't.
Sure.
Whatever. Everyone's kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
Everything's
just blah anymore.
I understand that.
Like,
I understand when you say that, it means it doesn't matter to you. But then someone listening could say, easy for you to say. You get to do what you want. I have to work this job.
Right.
And I hate this job. I understand the reality of that, but I would say start to imagine a life where you're doing something you love and start walking towards it. Don't run. If you can't quit your job because your life will fall apart, then you can't quit your job. But start to imagine, like, is there another thing maybe you should be doing? And like start taking steps towards that and see what that means. And it's not such a clear process. Again, like a lot of people would roll their eyes and go, easy for you to say.
Right.
Easy for me to say now, but not when I was broke, working jobs I hated.
Right.
To get to where I could do something that I loved.
I think a lot of mine was relationships, right? So when I took that step back and I said, I think this is the healthiest situation for me to be in, for me to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
Hardest decision I ever made. Partially why, my marriage ended.
Right, but you guys were together a long time.
Long time.
How old were you when that started?
So we got together in 2012.
Okay.
So I was 20, just newly 21.
Wow, that's young to make that decision.
And I wrote it in my song Everleave on the record. I'm very personal in my music, always have been. And I have the line that says, at the end of the day, maybe just me at 21 and 31 wanted different things.
Of course.
You know, I think back on, being young and 20 to be honest. And it's like your parents own the bar up the street. And it's like, we were just, we hung out in the same circles and everybody drank together. We had the same friends. Like a lot of it was just based on just being young and dumb and like being best friends.
Yeah.
And then when you get down to the nitty gritty years later and it's like real life hits and you start to look at each other as you're growing up and you're becoming adults and you're realizing that you want one thing and he wants another. And you're realizing that guys don't really get along too well as the people you've become. And I had to look at that and realize that every time I went home, I didn't like who I was. And when I say go home, off the road.
Right.
Didn't like who I was when I was at home.
Right.
I was drinking all the time. I was out all the time. I was just lethargic and lazy and I just was around things I don't really like to be around. And then the energy was very negative. And I was like, I don't see myself growing in this soil.
It's one thing I feel like we don't, and I think we live in a time now where we really do talk about everything. So I think it's a good place. Like all the things you could say that are wrong with the world, I don't look at the world that way.
Sure.
So I'm not living in these like political conversations and things like that. I don't live in that.
Right.
So I don't really care about any of that. And some people could be offended by that. I understand.
Yeah.
Because they care so much about issues and
Sure.
I respect that. That's just not how my brain operates and not how I move through the world.
Yeah.
So I think we live in a very special time. As much as people could point out all the bad things, I feel like there's so much good. And I think that
so much.
Yeah, we live in a time now where we talk about things more than we ever have. And I think by talking about things that are uncomfortable or are different from us or whatever, it's how we all get closer and we have more empathy for one another.
Sure.
Because, we're all different and that's good. We should be different. Right. Same is not necessarily good, right?
No.
But things like divorce, I don't think we talk about it enough in the sense of like the experience of.
Sure.
One, is it a bad thing? I don't know that it is. Even though it may be really hard.
Sure.
And painful, and also you're dealing with the world and people take things and use them against us. So they'll take a painful experience we had and they'll use it against us to shame us, and that's just people being people, right? Because they're in their own shame spiral.
And I was terrified of that.
Right.
Putting this record out. Terrified. I've wanted everybody else to be happy always.
Yeah.
Which I think, kind of going back to what we were just talking about and what you were just explaining, I think that was kind of a fault for me a little bit. I gave so much of myself to everyone. And I was like, I don't even like myself.
That's terrible to be in that place.
To be honest.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like who I am, but I'm giving so much love to everyone else, but I'm not giving any love to myself.
Yeah.
And speaking on divorce, I'm a Christian and I struggled hard with that decision, with the guilt that came along with that. I remember the conversation, this is in one of my songs as well, but I remember the conversation of calling my dad and telling him, this is what's going to happen.
And is he very religious as well?
He is.
Okay.
And he said, we don't do divorces.
Right.
And I said, what? That was the response I got, right? Did not expect for that to be.
We as in me and you, or?
We as in, he said, in this family.
Right. I get it.
We don't do that. And, my sister very much lives in the Word. And I had so many long conversations with her. And, my ex and he didn't believe in God. He was an atheist and I was a Christian. And so that was also a hard thing in our relationship. I would be very much leaning on my faith, through our relationship and through our problems and our struggles, and trying to work through it in that way. And how do you do that when somebody just doesn't even, which was totally fine, but it's just, we didn't see eye to eye in that way at all. And I felt like, I would try to bring him to church and he didn't want to be there. And it just felt very much like something that I stood so strong on.
Well, it's such a big part of your personal identity with yourself. If someone can't come and participate in that, there's almost like a point where you can't grow together more because they can't share this thing that you hold so much value.
Exactly.
In. I understand it very personally because I grew up in a very religious house, and my dad left when I was young, and my parents always struggled with lots of things. So they were always kind of up against it. And now as an adult, I know that because I go to therapy and I have all these tools to like make sense of everything.
Sure.
They didn't have those same tools. It was a different time and it was just not available. I think now it's a different time. When that marriage dissolved, I saw the church's response and it didn't feel fair to me. Because my mom didn't necessarily choose it and my dad didn't actually necessarily choose it. They didn't know how to work it out. They didn't know how to have an amicable disagreement. They didn't have tools to communicate how they were feeling. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it was all just so confusing and it felt so final. And my faith tends to now be more focused on like faith in God versus a group of people who I consult with to make the God-like decision.
Sure.
I understand a lot of people could argue. It's funny because in the Christian realm and in the world of Christianity, I got Christians who love me and Christians who don't agree with that on some of my points of view. But my faith is my faith, and it's always an interesting conversation. And I'm not mad at anyone.
Never.
When someone doesn't agree with me, I'm not offended that you don't see it the same way.
Right.
I can only be me. There's a way of living where we show people something because we want to put up the version of ourselves that they'll agree with, or there's us being true and sharing our values that we really have. And the value system in Christianity is great.
Right.
And in religion as a whole, the values are generally all really good.
Right.
Right.
I think I've started to watch more of the response videos when it comes to my song Everleave, which at first I'm not going to lie, when I put this record out, I was terrified.
Good.
I was like, there's going to be some backlash, right? And
art.
I think when you're doing something that's really going to help people or is going to make a difference in any way, it feels really scary. And so I felt like with how terrified I am to put this out, I really need to make sure that it goes out because I have women just collapse in my arms in the meet and greet every single night that are like going through it after, I know how it felt after 10 years. They're going through it after 30, 40 years of marriage. And I get to be their therapy for that one night, for that hour and a half I'm on stage. The people that are saying, I took a flight in because I just got a divorce and this is my night of healing. And
they need it.
Yeah. With all of the pain that came with it, that I'm still processing.
Yeah.
A year and a half later, a year later.
That's fresh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
With all of the pain that came with it, those nights make it worth it.
How did you reconcile it with your dad?
What I did in my relationships, I hid a lot of things
right
that were happening because and listen, my ex is a wonderful guy. He's yeah, and but there were a lot of things that happened that I don't really think my dad would have necessarily approved of happening in my marriage or would have thought that was a healthy situation I was in had he known about those things.
As your father.
As my father.
Right.
And so I hid those things. I painted them over and I made everything look great. And so once I kind of opened up about that and explained to him what was actually going on, I think he felt better about me getting out of a situation that just wasn't good for me and wasn't good for him either.
Right.
We weren't, I'm not blameless in it, and we weren't good for each other.
No, that's just how it works.
Yeah.
It's like, it's complicated. To be a human being and to be in a relationship with another human being is so complex.
It really is.
And so layered And then we do the dumbest shit in relationships because it's so messy sometimes.
Right.
Because we're at the core, we want love. So then in faith, they'll say, well, God is love. God gives you love. The transcendent part of life, you can get a lot of love ultimately the idea that God loves me, so that's all I need is a great idea. Mm-hmm. And at our best, that might be enough. But the human side of us that's struggling to just feel loved every day, feel accepted, feel safe, feel all these things is all tangled up in these when we get into these relationships, especially young. And then you throw in things like drugs and alcohol, or you throw in all
financial issues,
all the things, financial issues, distance. You're trying to make your dream, whether it's trauma or self-esteem or any of it. It's this big bag of issues and things, good and bad, all mixed together. And then you're supposed to share a life with someone, and then you both have to unpack your own bags, but then they get mixed together.
Sure.
So I believe marriage works. I do.
Me too.
But I always tell everyone, like, it's really hard. And part of my growth was I met her at the right time, and then we grew together. And she was like, there were things that she drew a line on. She was like, that's not okay. You need to work on it. And then I would go work on it. But I was older. So that has everything to do with it. Not to say that anyone at 21 couldn't get married. There's certainly people that have and have succeeded.
100%. My parents.
But it's hard.
It's so hard. And I didn't realize, I think a lot of the roles that I played in our separation and then our divorce until after when I was in therapy.
Yeah, and you can really analyze it.
And I texted him one day and I said, I just want to apologize for this, this, and this. And I didn't realize that I was doing this because of X, Y, and Z, childhood trauma, right? Yeah. Didn't realize that this is the reason why I was doing X, Y, and Z. And I just wanted to say I'm sorry, and I know what role I played in that. And, I did that because I was just now realizing why I did that.
Yeah.
My apologies, were they sincere? After I did whatever I was doing, you know what I'm saying? After we would argue or whatever.
Yeah,
were they sincere? Yes. But was I fully grasping why?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. Not until it all came out later. And so
that's growth.
Yeah. And that's why it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, I don't think so. Especially if you're both happy.
Exactly.
Like, I also see when I see families that the parents are divorced, but then they have this really great relationship afterwards. It was painful during, and it might get a little edgy, and we may say things that we wish we hadn't said, but that's relationships, right? In the moment.
Right.
The tricky part with relationships is that it's not, everything's not excusable.
No.
Right? There are people in abusive relationships. Sure. They should run from.
Right.
And then there are people and then there's all different, the spectrum of bad can be really complicated. It's important because, like, people listening are all going through all the same spectrum of things, like relationships, their dream, what do I want to be in the world? And then how do I do it? And we have a pretty good example of someone trying to do that.
Right. I think creating art out of the pain as well. I mean, that's how most of us got started, right? Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, you're a young person feeling all of these crazy feelings, and you start writing it down in a journal of some sort, and it turns into a poem of some sort, turns into a song. And I mean, that's how I got started anyways. And that's just stuck with me my entire life. And everyone, people ask me all the time, they're like, did you plan on writing a divorce album? I said, I didn't plan on getting divorced. No. But I didn't even plan on making an album out of this. I just had to do it because it's the only way I've known how to process things since I was 12 years old.
And to me, like, you're making music and you're a Christian, right? So you're exemplifying what it means to live your real life, not the life I want you to perceive I'm living.
Right.
Right? Because there's a dishonesty in that. If I just want you to see this thing that looks perfect, and then I don't share, and then that bar is impossible. Every person is going through the same thing you are in some way, shape, or form. I'm dealing with whether it's this or that. if I try to present that, no, I have it all figured out and it's not hard for me, actually. I'm just perfect. That's why I'm super careful. And I tell people all the time, be careful of presenting yourself as some higher authority on something.
Right.
Like, it's not hard for you to do the right thing or to reconcile something wrong you did.
Sure.
But as a Christian, you're giving people a look into like, no, I'm a human and I haven't left my belief system because I suffered or because I went through something hard. And I think that's important for people who share the same faith as you to see like, no, imperfection is kind of part of the human thing.
Yeah.
How's Tim McGraw?
He's so sweet.
Seems cool.
He's so cool. Man,
I saw you collaborated with Randy Travis, Tim McGraw, Jody Messina, Gary Laveau.
Yeah, Gary LeVox from Rascal Flatts.
Rascal Flatts. Rascal Flatts.
Yeah. You know what was really cool is when Tim took us out on the road and I was his opener on his amphitheater tour.
That's dope.
And like as an independent artist, he just like found me on TikTok.
Really?
Yeah.
He's like
How
that.
sick
That's
is that?
cool.
Yeah. And everybody in the business, right? Is like in the business as in like in country music in Nashville was like, what?
Yeah.
Like why?
How'd that happen?
Right?
He's so cool.
He's so cool.
I don't know him personally. I'm a fan of his. But
he's
I
so
don't know
cool.
him.
And he works out like crazy. He's like in incredible shape.
He's fit.
Oh, and he would have like this mobile gym every day on the road. And I was like walking by one day.
He's a good actor too.
Oh my God, he's incredible.
Yeah.
1883,
Yeah,
I believe was just premiering when we were on the road.
Cool.
I was like walking to catering one day and he was doing his like third workout of the entire day. And he's like, Alexandra, where are you going? And I was like, oh, I'm just going to go get another, I don't know. I think I was going to get ice cream. I'm not going to lie. And he was just like, you're going to change, right? And work out with us. And I was like, 100%. I went back like, oh my God. I have never been so sore in my life.
Yeah.
I was pushing tires.
Yeah.
Look at my arms, twigs. He had me pushing tires, but he was like so cool. Like he had us out there working out with him every single day. It was
super positive.
Yeah.
That kind
opportunity
of
a lifetime. And meeting Faith Hill for me, my God.
She's cool.
So cool. And he like saw me eyeing her from across the room and he knew I wasn't going to go up and say anything to her because I'm just not, I don't like to bother people. And so I just kept like looking over like this or whatever. And he walked her right up to me and was like, have you met Faith? And I was like, no.
And then you got to meet her.
And you're the reason why I do this. And
was it everything you hoped?
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's cool.
It made me want to work 1,000 times harder. And then.
It's nice when you meet people that inspire you and it's not the opposite experience. It's nice.
Who is that for you?
Oh my God. I mean, Wheezy.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne. My father-in-law, Lionel, he's just so positive, so supportive, and always cool, calm, and collected, and has wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And has seen it all, right? Just like, who else? Actually just met one of my favorite producers, Southside, was on this show. Mm-hmm. I kind of had an idea of who he was, but it was really nice to meet someone and be like a bigger fan.
Right.
You know? Adele.
I love her.
She's amazing.
Oh my gosh. She's incredible.
She's incredible. Incredible artist, incredible person.
Have you met Jelly Roll?
I've never met him.
Man, he's like the sweetest guy.
We would probably be friends. That's what I think.
Really would. That's why I was just like, are you sure you haven't met him? Like,
he's so honest.
Man, I was walking by him at a label I was at like his label party at like CRS or something like that a couple of years ago. And he walked right past me and I knew who he was. But like I said, I don't like to bother people. So I looked right at him and I'm like, oh shit, it's Jelly Roll. And he stopped me, pulled my shoulder, and he was just like, Alexandra Kay, what are you doing in here? And I was just like, man, I'm just, wheeling and dealing, shaking hands. What's up? And I was like, man, I'm such a fan. We got into it, and he was just like, he looked at me, and he was just like, you're still independent, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, stay that way. And I was just like, thanks, man.
Words of wisdom.
Man, he pulled me aside and talked to me like he had known me for years about the business, about what he did prior to signing to his deal, about where he got, about where I should get, about, how many tickets I should be selling by this point. But it was the craziest conversation I had ever had. And he stopped me to have it. Like, that is how humble and incredible this guy is.
I think that that's how I feel. Whenever I see him, because I'm a fan and I follow, like on socials and stuff, and I follow like his music and stuff. And I know a couple of guys in his band. And so I have a good perception of him. Mm-hmm. So I don't know him personally, but I have a view into the world, and he's from my perspective of what I've seen, it feels great to see someone he's authentic. And I think that he's been through a lot. And I think people who have suffered and been through hardship and had to really find their way can be, again, like I think the most honest because they've already been through it. And I think that's what it is about him. I think he's honest and he's authentic and he's been through some stuff and he's just sharing it. He's not trying to make you think he's this certain kind of person.
No.
He's literally just singing his songs and he's sharing. Mm-hmm. And I think he's doing it from the heart. And I think that's why we're all struck by it.
Right.
So I think everyone feels that way about Jelly Roll. They're like, oh, I'd be friends with him.
For sure.
Right.
And every opportunity he has. I mean, just seeing like how gracefully he handled like the Grammys and his post about Victoria Monet and how she deserved the award. And he was just like all smiles. And it was just, you could just tell that every time he is in this place, he is just in awe that he made it there. Right. And that is so refreshing.
Yeah. He's got real serenity. Mm-hmm. And I think that, one thing I love about Jelly Roll is I don't even classify him in any genre. Like I think he's a storyteller, and I really feel the life lived when I hear him speak and when I listen to his music. So I feel the life he lived, and I'm almost a little jealous sometimes, even though I think he's younger than me. He went through this probably roller coaster of a life, and he informed who he can be now, where I felt in my artist career, I feel like I grew up in front of everyone. So I don't think I always handled it right.
Sure.
And as an older guy now, I can go like, not being too harsh on myself, but I can go like, I would do that different.
Yeah.
But I think he's a great example of a great success story.
I agree.
Of what you can do if you get back up and try and try, and with good support system.
Right.
I think his relationship with his wife is really beautiful.
It's gorgeous. And her support for him, her just undying love and support for him.
Another guy that I love, I know him and I'm friends with him, is Luke Combs.
Oh, I've never met Luke.
He's amazing.
But he looks so sweet.
He's just humble and nice and appreciates it's not lost on him, the opportunity he has to sing his songs. And he sits in this really interesting place because he's such a big artist, but he makes everyone in the room feel important. And there's a humility to him that I like learn from, that I think is like, I don't know. I love him.
Man, I can't wait to meet him one day.
Yeah. You'll have a good experience.
I feel like
he's a good dude.
What was that like for you? Like growing up in front of everybody? Was that hard?
I think when you're doing it, you're just doing it.
How old were you when you guys had like your first huge single?
21. But I was probably mentally like 16. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a lot of growing up to do, and I didn't do that until I was probably in my late 20s when I met Nicole, and then we started really getting to work on like real life.
Yeah.
Because I had always held the career as that's the most important thing in the world. That's what makes me special. That's what makes me valuable. And then I learned like, no, it's not. It is a special aspect of my life, and it's great. But like if you put that first and you put everything into that, you're missing the point of like real life. So. Right. I feel like there's a bunch of other things I wanted to ask you, but we talked a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe you can come back.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Next
anytime.
time you
anytime.
Put a song out or you want to promote something.
All right.
We covered the album.
We did. We covered the album. We talked about the album. We talked about a lot of life stuff too.
Are you going on tour?
I'm going on tour with Jelly Roll's taking me out.
Amazing.
As his
so I'll come see the show.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah,
he's taking me out as his opener. It'll be my first arena tour.
Amazing.
So I'm really excited to play arenas and to learn from Jelly every single day and to just like be, like I said, around somebody who inspires me and like I learn so much from, get so much wisdom from.
You deserve to be there in that place. That's great.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Artist Friendly. If you really liked it, You can follow, like, subscribe to the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.
Bad times.